You're listening to Zero Distortion with Russ Bates, where real conversations cut through the noise from business and politics to mindset and relationships. No filters, no fluff. Just truth and perspective that matters. Mic on. Let's go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Zero Distortion. I'm Russ Bates, and I'm joined today by my amazing, beautiful wife, Alisa, who's going to co-host this episode with me. Today, we're talking about manifestation, not the vague or wishful thinking kind, but how it actually shows up in real life, how it shows up in business, and how it shows up in mindset. And we brought on two fantastic guests to help us break it down. Lanie Latsios, you remember her from a week or so ago, talking about her experience on The Bachelor. She's joined us along with Vincent, a strategist, a writer, and an all-around thoughtful voice on making mindset work practical. So we're going to keep this conversation simple and, as always, real, with three parts. What manifestation really is and what it means to you. 2, when it's worked in real life. And 3, how to make it work for you. So let's go around the horn here and kick things off and have each of our guests explain what manifestation really means to them. All right, so Lanie, tell me, what does manifestation really mean to you? I mean, we hear a lot of different things like there's that book, The Secret, letting the universe bring things to you, and it all kind of means manifestation, or that's how I do it. But I mean, how do you view that? What's your definition of manifestation?
I think it's a little different for everyone, but what I've gathered is that it's manifestation is the process of turning your beliefs and your thoughts and your desires into an aligned reality. Unfortunately, I think manifestation can go both ways. You know, you can manifest things maybe that are not the most ideal, because at the end of the day, it's the process. It's a scientific and an energetic process that really can kind of get you exactly what you want or don't want, because it's the energy that's going into life and going into everything that we're thinking of and creating on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You can manifest what you want to be, as in good, or what you don't want. It's kind of what you think about a lot is what you're going to attract, that law of attraction type of thing. Caroline, what about you? How do you view that?
I view manifestation as something that you are calling it in and it is coming from the universe, but it's also, to me, an energetic alignment. So the full alignment of everything. So that's why it's like when you're if there's something that you want or something you're craving and trying to bring into your life, you have to align yourself from the inside out. So going into manifestation is really bringing in that internal energy that you have and making it happen in real life.
Do you view it as like a spiritual type of thing? Is it more a practical, or is it maybe a mix of that and some other things? What's your thoughts there, Caroline? Is that something that ever plays into your thought process?
Yeah, I think it kind of starts more practical, or when people kind of start going deeper into manifestation. But I find, and I did grow up with religion in my background, so for me, I feel like it is a very spiritual thing, and I pray every night. And so almost in my prayers, I'm calling in and bringing in things, and with that energy of, being calm and stillness within myself, and then asking or hoping for bringing in whatever I'm asking for, then I do feel like that side is the spiritual side that I kind of take manifestation through with.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What about you, Alisa? What's your thoughts on what does manifestation mean to you? What comes in your head whenever you hear that word?
Yeah. Well, first I want to say I agree with everything that they've already said. And when Lanie was speaking, I thought of that Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So whatever, your feelings are about something, whether you're bringing in that negative energy or that positive energy, you're going to be right. You've actually taught me to think more positively as long as I've known you, and it has really worked. But to me, manifestation, on top of everything that you guys have said, there's this TikTok creator. I don't know if you know her, but her name's Courtney, and she talks a lot about manifestation. And she said it so perfectly. And now that's all I think about. This is what it means to me. It's method acting, right? So it's kind of like if you ever heard about Daniel Day-Lewis, when he played Lincoln, he was Lincoln 24/7, right? He spoke that way, whether he was in character or not. And when I think about, you know, whether it's getting into shape or excelling in my career, say I want to be promoted to the next level at the company, what would I do every day? How would I change my day? What does the CEO do? We have a woman CEO, by the way, and I work for a Fortune 250 company, and we have a woman CEO, which is pretty amazing. And I tend to look at her as an example. So, what time would I come into work? What would I wear? How would I speak to people? And I'm actually practicing method acting for everything. If I want to get into shape, which is kind of what I've brought about in the last few years, just really have become more of an athlete, more of the type of almost like a bodybuilder physique. So I thought to myself, what would a bodybuilder do every day? What time would she wake up? What would she eat? What would she meal prep on Sundays? And it's just method acting for me.
It's kind of like dressing for the role you want, right? If you're looking for a raise, you dress a certain way. You don't want to dress it at this level. If somebody's dressed a little bit nicer at a higher level, you want to dress so for that. No,
but also everything inside too, internally. How would I feel?
Yeah.
It's like internal has to match to like really pull that in, That whole fake it to make it thing too.
And just to your point, Alisa, really quickly, I think asking yourself those questions and then answering them, it's like you're literally answering it for yourself, but we don't ask those questions. Like that is such a good question.
Yeah, and that kind of rolls us into the next part, which is when has it actually worked? So, Caroline, let me ask you, can you walk us through a time when manifestation has like really worked for you? That's like, yes, I'm a believer because this happened.
I've had so many that I also, and something interesting is I actually talked to this girl who has like 1 million followers at a conference one time. And I told her I get so many signs. Sometimes I'm a little confused, like which direction to go. Cause I start my direction and my energy onto one thing. And for a while, there was a period of time where I was like uncertain about, what area I wanted to go into or just where I should be taking my work energy. And she told me to pray for blockers, which is also, I think, kind of interesting in the manifestation space because I can be at the same time manifesting something, but when I also pray for like a blocker or something that comes in my way that's like a hard obstacle to like take that path, because I almost needed that to reroute my mind like out of thinking, should I do this, should I do it or not? And I got laid off from a job like 2 days later after praying for like a big blocker. And it was a whole situation where I didn't have any reason to be like to go. So for me, that came out pretty interestingly. I feel like dating, I pray and like I tell all my friends if they're like looking for specific, get as specific as you want.
Lanie, but have you got another type of experience for you that was like, yeah, I'm a believer in this?
Yeah, for me, I actually was thinking about the Bachelor and how since we spoke about that before, just to kind of touch on how I think I manifested that, I actually remember like looking in my notes from like October of like 2 years prior to when I went on The Bachelor, and I said I wanted to be somewhere warm for college. I was going to a small state school, and I was like honestly just not aligned with the people. I wasn't aligned with the environment, and I remember being like, I want to get to a big city. Like I need to get to a big city. And I ended up like, kind of dating someone at the time that was like, oh, I'm transferring to Temple. And I was like, no way. Like I wanted to transfer to Temple. And so he gave me the support I needed at the time to like get there. And, of course, when we got there, we like kind of broke up and it was all good. But I think the fact that I even got there was like was like looking back on it now, it was so scary for me, but it was like truly what I wanted. And I was sort of scared to like bring it out. But the more I thought about it and the more I like started, and you know what's interesting? I feel like when you feel fear too, you kind of, that's also a sign that you are manifesting, because your brain, like the oldest parts of your brain are like going off and kind of, you know, saying like warning or danger, like you're about to get what you want and your life's about to level up, because it is kind of scary sometimes to get what we want, right? Like it is. So yeah, those are two examples of, you know, The Bachelor, and even just getting to Philadelphia and getting to a big city, which, you know, at the time I'd never lived in a big city.
Funny, because I think you can also manifest people super intensely in some way, or at least like if you're going at something in their space. And one reminds me of this girl, Megan Asha, who is a founder of Founder Made. And I used to follow her on LinkedIn. And one day I was just like, I feel like she's like perfect. She's like super savvy. She's business forward, so super sociable, super smart, high emotional intelligence. And I ended up following her on Instagram. And maybe like 6 months later, I was like thinking, wow, like I love like everything she's doing with her life. And kind of from there, I ended up at one point having like a meeting, and she ended up joining the meeting with her team. So that was like an introduction. I'm like, whoa, she's face to face. Now I'm like next to this person who I've like been seeing online for so long. I think there's a lot of ways that you can take manifestation with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're in our 20s, but I do feel like, you know, I do feel like maybe they seem like silly, you know, examples, or they seem like not that big a deal, but it's like when you're in your 20s and you're growing your career and like, you know, your life, like you want your life to be playful. Like I feel like, you know, Caroline and I align in that a lot, is like we want to have a joyful, playful life. We want to travel. We want to like have fun. We love music, you know, DJs, things like that. So being able to manifest those, I feel like, is confirmation that only bigger things are coming. And trust me, I have a lot of very big things I'm manifesting, but for now it's like I just use little confirmations every single day. Like I'm gonna find a parking spot, literally I use that as like manifestation confirmation that it works and that I'm on the right path to manifesting bigger goals.
Yeah, you really got to stack those wins, right? And kind of crawl before you walk and run. And you know, sometimes I like whenever I think of manifestation, I'm kind of like a baby giraffe, right? Just kind of wandering around trying to figure things out a little bit. So I've had some wins, but still a lot to learn. But what about you? What
You have a
as
win,
far as
right?
yeah, I'm getting there. It's still a journey for sure. But what about you? Have you?
I have well, we're older, obviously, but I've had so many times that I've manifested. And I also think of, you know, going back to the first topic, what manifestation is, it's just, I don't have a choice. This will happen to me. And just from the very beginning. So I'm a child of, well, actually, I'm an immigrant too. My whole family immigrated from the former Soviet Union. And if you know any immigrants, their parents are always like, you don't have a choice. You have to be a professional. You have to be a lawyer or a doctor. So even that was a manifestation for me. I don't have a choice. I have to be successful. And I was. And I think we have to act that way in other things too. You don't have a choice. You're going to be successful in whatever you want to do. You know, your wife wants to travel. You don't have a choice. We're going to travel the world. But I've also, you know, I manifested you. This is the second marriage for both of us. And I was already successful when I got married the first time, but very emotionally immature. Very emotionally reactive. I mean, my parents were too busy to teach me things like emotional regulation. You know, they were out there trying to make money, make it in America. So they didn't really have time for us. So I had to learn that later on. I was not a good wife in the beginning, right? I was not a good first wife, but I'm a great second wife. And yeah, I've learned a lot. But even with you, I was single. I was in my early 40s. I have 3 kids, and I tried the dating apps. I knew what I wanted. You know, I wanted somebody that was kind and smart and driven, but also playful and wanted to travel, and would love my kids just like they were his own. But then after being on the apps for a while, I was like, I don't have time for this. I have a job. I got to take care of my kids. So I outsourced that. I outsourced that to a matchmaker. So we actually met through a matchmaker. It took maybe 10 dates or so. But I remember exactly, I got a call from the matchmaker and I told her, this is what I want. This is what he needs to look like. And, at the end of it, I said, I want a gym partner. I want to be married to my gym crush. And she called me. She's like, so I've got the perfect guy for you. His name is Russ. He does all these things and he loves the gym. I'm like, okay, sold. So we went on a blind date. Wow. And from the very first date, I'm like, this is it. I manifested you. But I outsourced, wow, which I completely recommend outsourcing that.
First date too.
Well, wow. Yeah, I've got the same story with her. It was something I thought about who do I want to be with, what type of person, what type of physique, all those kind of things, and then there she was. So we were both using it, and it kind of worked out. So that's kind of cool. So it did. I'll say there's truth to manifestation works. Manifestation works, but let me ask now, and Lanie, I'm gonna go to you first, but the manifestation sounds great. It sounds like, you make a wish and it comes true, but there's work that goes into that. So can you talk a little bit about how do you actually apply this in real life? What's some advice you would have to making manifestation work for people?
Yeah. So I used to journal. I remember the second year in my real estate career, I was doing like luxury real estate sales and I wanted to make a certain amount of money. And I had a coach tell me to write down every day 25 times when I wake up, I earn XYZ in 2021, let's say, and I closed like 12 units. And I remember it was like a 6-figure number. And, I'd never really made 6 figures at that point, especially in 1 year. And like, I was like kind of new out of school. And I remember I was like, you know what? I had belief because he was very successful in real estate. And I just had a belief that I think it would work if I did it. And so I started just like writing that every morning, 25 times when I didn't want to, when I wasn't feeling like it, when I was feeling like it. And I ended up that year making like 20,000 more than what I had written. And I remember just like being like, wow, I manifested this. So I feel like a technique for journaling, that's 100%. I would recommend that to anyone. It's tough because I think you have to know, like I like writing. It was always something I excelled in school. So I like kind of doing it for myself as a feedback loop. So I would say that's a technique. And then a technique I learned very recently is called neural anchoring. And what it is you use a trigger like a touch, a sound, a taste, a smell. So I'm going to give you my example is I rub my fingers and then you think of a experience that gives you a certain emotion. So when I rub my fingers together, now it's funny, I think of that and I feel abundance. So when I'm needing abundance or I'm needing feeling a little bit of self-doubt, I do this neural anchoring and I like call in, as Caroline says, call in abundance. And that's something that, takes a little bit less time than journaling 25 times. So what I found is make your tech, anywhere from like something you can do in a second to something that you can do for like 5 or 10 minutes. So those are 2 techniques that I personally use and I've been using a lot more to like kind of gain momentum exists and that it can continue occurring on a small and large scale level.
Yeah, it's consistency. I understand emotion plays a big part of it. Having that feeling of how you are going to feel like if you want a new car, right? Knowing what that car is, feeling how that emotion is going to be for you sitting in that new car or sitting in that new office or on that vacation or looking at that bank account at how much money's in there and how that actually feels like you got it. You got to kind of use your imagination a bit. But yeah, I agree. Consistency means a lot. What about you, Caroline? Is there anything that, really helps to keep you in that consistency mode, or any tips that you use?
I think part of it, and even with like The Secret, how it's like, oh, if you think you want a Range Rover, right? And then all of a sudden, like you think that and you feel it, and then you start seeing them everywhere, right? And so you're like taking in, and I think acknowledging where those signs or different things show up. And then like it reaffirms that back into yourself to think, okay, that's what I want. Like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing that everywhere. This is a sign. This is good for me, right? So I think acknowledging that and almost like reconfirming with yourself is really important. Something that I've been looking at lately, and I've been reading like some books on, I guess, like how to go deeper into that. And a lot of it talks about shadow work. So I don't know if you guys are too familiar with that, but there's like a lot of shadow work because some people will have like fears or insecurities. And a lot of the times when we're not taking those steps to do things, it's because there's those underlying things that for some reason it comes back to. Maybe I'm not good enough, or I couldn't get that because XYZ. And sometimes that's where like people will be holding themselves back. So I think it's super important for people to kind of take a deep dive into themselves at some point and kind of see if there's areas like that hold them back. Because there's always external and there's internal, but taking some of that and then also like reframing that. And then there's like exercises where you can, write all your fear-based like ideas and everything out there. And then you write like a letter back and just like reframe and re-umph you into like getting back into the manifestation road work ahead of sort. But yeah, I would say for me, I think keeping it top of mind. And I know some people that will write on Post-it notes and put that on their mirror. So as soon as they see that, I love affirmations. So I also love to, if I'm not journaling, then I do like to read those and kind of bring yourself back into that energy whenever you feel yourself is like kind of losing it. And then I think that action part where as long as you're making those like little steps every day, that's more action oriented towards the goal that you're trying to align with. Then I think that's where a lot of the magic happens with the baby steps along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I've researched this a bit, read several books, and trying to apply it in real life, and everything you guys just said, it lines up exactly with what these experts are saying. So I'm going to say you're in that expert category. What about you? What advice would you give to make this work?
Yeah. So what I use is a lot of affirmations too. And some of them are really silly. They sound silly, but I just repeat them and they work for me. So something as silly as, my name is Alisa and I am a goal-getter. I am a successful attorney. My name is Alisa and I am powerful. Just, really simple, but just repeating it over and over again. And I believe it. And then the other thing that I use is imaging. So I don't know if that's the right word, imagination, imaging. But so part of my job is public speaking and training. And as a young attorney, I was terrified of public speaking, and I have to do so in front of large groups sometimes. So one thing I do is sit in a room before the event or before I have to train, a dark room, and I just relax and I close my eyes and I actually picture myself being in that room, being at the front of the room, and picture the faces and me speaking very confidently, looking like I know what I'm talking about. And I picture the faces in the room and they're nodding and they're smiling. I see that they're understanding and they're with me. And that really works for me. Just 5 minutes beforehand, I picture it happening.
Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. You see sports teams that go on a win streak or a losing streak. And it's what they're thinking about, right? They're manifesting something. I think it happens in politics too. Maybe to the detriment of certain things. But no, this has been really good. So real quick before we go, I want to know, is there anything that you guys are manifesting right now? So Caroline, let me start with you. Sentence, a word, anything. What are you actively manifesting or working on to manifest right now?
So I am actually ending my lease in New York and I'm going to be moving to Los Angeles. So part of that move is in with my manifesting because I want a community around me that's a lot more into like the wellness environment and also is doing things. It's been great to be around Lanie here because I really feel like I need more feminine energy around me that's also that wants to be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. So I'm manifesting a bigger circle of women around me that are all very supportive and just amazing humans. And I'm also manifesting a work environment for me that's going to be everything playful. Of course, there will be a lot of hard work with it, but a job that I'm loving so much. And every day I wake up and I'm so excited to do it, as well as all the dynamicness. And I really want to pull in something that utilizes my interpersonal skills as well as the intelligence side that I have and bring that all kind of into full circle.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always say if you enjoy the work you're doing, I don't know if I came up with this. I don't think I did. I'm stealing it. But if you enjoy the work that you do, it doesn't feel like work. Work is work, but it doesn't have to be, digging a ditch, right? So that's key. And having positive people like Lanie around is very important. I love that. I think that's fantastic. What about you, Lanie? Same question.
Yeah, so and I just want to say I know Alisa and I talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but I think as women, you can be as you can have a career or you can be completely kind of in your feminine and just like want to be a mom or just, stay at home wife, like whatever you want is awesome. And you have to be true to yourself on that. I think for me right now, I am manifesting having entrepreneurial endeavors where a well-known company, like a wellness company, such as Goop or Poosh, if they happen to be listening, but like any sort of wellness company that is mainly women run and women oriented and female demographic that is just talking about, health, wealth, like internal wealth, spiritual wealth, well-being, mental health. I'm manifesting aligning with them and like almost having a partnership with them, and kind of being aligned with them and getting paid for it. I'm manifesting getting paid for it. So I feel like those are my two things is sort of my own independence and my own voice, but also aligning that with like a female driven wellness company.
Got it. No, those are great.
I love it.
What about you?
I'm manifesting us buying a house in Central America and then retiring there early, or at least me retiring early, and then you can keep working anywhere. And just more travel. I think more travel for us.
Sounds good.
And Ross, I would love to hear what you're manifesting really quick.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm manifesting a lot of different things. One, I'm definitely wanting to get kind of back into fighter shape, I guess, from back in the day whenever I was big and in shape. So that's one thing that
You're tiny. You should.
Yeah, gotta work on that. And then always in my thought is, a family and stuff like that, but career is always a big one. I love helping people and just advancing and being able to help people as much as possible. So that's consistent for me. And there's different levels of what that looks like. So yeah. Well, thanks for asking. This was such a great conversation. Caroline and Lanie, thanks to both of you for being on pod. I think this can help a lot of people. Thanks again for you co-hosting and contributing. And we're going to wrap it up and catch everybody on the next Zero Distortion. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Zero Distortion. If you liked this episode, follow the pod, leave a rating, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. You'll find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Yeah. Stay curious, stay open, and until next time, keep cutting through the noise.